All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Mark M. Bello, who is an attorney, podcaster, social justice advocate, and award-winning author of realistic fiction and political, legal, social justice action thrillers. Mark, I'm really curious about political, legal, social justice action thrillers. I want to
Boy,
know
you
how you like. You're
you
gonna have
make
to
me
tell me a
sound you
little
make
bit
me
more
sound
about
so important.
that. Awesome. Well, Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
What do I like to do for fun? Wow. I enjoy my writing. That's one thing. More important than my writing is my family. I enjoy spending time with my children and grandchildren, especially grandchildren. Uh, any any mother will tell their son or daughter who has children that they like their children's children better than their children better
Yeah.
than their children. There's no drama, and you can send them home with their parents. You don't have they're not stuck in the house with you. Uh,
Yeah.
so I definitely enjoy spending time with my grandchildren. I have nine of them, ranging in age from 12. He's going to be 13 soon, all the way down to 6 months. So I
Okay.
have nine grandchildren. My dreams, uh, what I enjoy doing, aside from that, is I'm even though I'm 70, I still spend a lot of time with sports. I like to play golf. I like to play tennis. I play pickleball. For those of your in your audience who know what pickleball is, I like to play baseball still, and I play catch and hit balls with my older grandsons. My granddaughters are not into baseball. Uh, Despite the fact that I live in Detroit, I like to watch football, even though I'm a long-suffering Lions fan. So there is that. Um, I I don't want to go there. I throw it out there because it is what it is.
It is
Um,
what it is.
and that's essentially who I am, what I am. I practiced law for almost 50 years. I've written books now since I retired about 6 years ago. So eight novels and two children's books in 6 years. I also wrote a Jewish cookbook uh, based on the recipes of my own family. But for cookbook purposes, I wrote these recipes as being Zachary Blake's family recipes, the principal character in my books. So I created a kind of a fictional cookbook based on real recipes from my family tree.
That's really
And
cool.
that's essentially where I'm at these days.
I love it. I love it. So now it's just kind of full-time writing and spending time with your family.
Correct.
Sports.
Correct. I wouldn't say full-time writing, but that's what I spend my spare time doing. Yes.
Love it. And tell us a bit more about your motivation in life. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
My Say it again.
What gets you up and keeps you going every day? Your
Oh,
motivation.
motivation. Okay. My motivation is um, as it has always been in my career, uh, helping people. I represented people who needed help all of my adult life and in my law practice, and I like to write about topics and offer solutions that I think may help people and society in general. I don't like the direction the country has been going in since 2016. I don't think I need to go any further than that. But um, we need to come together, even if we disagree politically or socially on how to do that. We need to come together at least a little bit as a country. Republicans and Democrats used to be able to get along with each other and compromise. That doesn't seem to be something we can do anymore. So a lot of what I write about is providing, laying out social justice issues and providing solutions to those issues. And
Yeah,
that's been the main subject matter of my writing.
I love it. Do you have one that you focus on, or just kind of across the board?
It's been across the board. I basically take an issue from either my practice, which happened with my first book, and then with issues in the news, which happened with most of the books that followed my first book. The last book was a completely fictional whodunit novel, which was a departure from me. For me, most of my books have been based on issues in the news, like uh, cops shooting innocent black people, like school shootings, like the Me Too movement and sexual assault, like the border crisis from two different angles, white supremacy, uh, important issues that uh, are, represent the underbelly of our country, the hidden dangers that I think are out there, and I try to offer solutions to those uh, issues using the law and legal solutions to get there.
I love it. Well, now we're going to jump into your dreams and goals. So tell us a little bit about your vision for your books and the rest of your life. Do you see your books actually changing policy? Is that the goal, or is there another goal? Or
I don't know that I see a changing policy. I would like people to find them, more people to find them. That's why I do shows like this. I'd like to introduce myself to people that don't otherwise know me. I would like people to find them. I would like people to read them, and I would like people to think about the various issues that I cover in my novels, and maybe think about them in a new and unique, uh, inclusive way. Perhaps we can create a movement, if you will. I'm not naive. I mean, I'm not saying one guy writing a book can make a difference, but one guy writing a book is one more guy than there was before.
yeah,
You
yeah,
try to you try to you try to touch people one reader at a time.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, awesome. Are there any other dreams or goals that you want to chat about, or is that kind of the main one?
Dreams. Oh, dreams are what I just said. People finding my work
Yep.
and enjoying it, and perhaps embracing the solutions and suggestions that are in them. But my main dream is for unity in our country and a better world for my kids and my grandchildren. I'm not going to be here much longer. I'm 70. And when I say much longer, I mean relatively so. I don't plan to leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
Uh, I plan to live quite a while, but relatively speaking, someone young like yourself, uh, a 6-month-old granddaughter, um, they're tomorrow's uh, citizens, and I want them to grow up in a more inclusive, friendlier, just, which is important to me, justice. It's what I write about. It's what I talk about. It's what I've lived. Community, and those are my dreams. And for the Lions to win a Super Bowl. I think I have a better chance for the country than I do for the Lions. But
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Well, awesome. If there were one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards getting your books out there or helping the Lions win a Super Bowl, who would they be and how would they do it?
alive or deceased, doesn't matter.
Preferably alive, because we would like to introduce you to them. But you can also say the ideology of somebody deceased.
Um, a deceased person would have been Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Um, Ruth
Oh,
Bader
gotcha.
Ginsburg, without question, is the ultimate hero of my life.
Yeah.
She her judicial philosophy and political philosophy speak to me. Um, Alive, Barack Obama, and if I to piggyback Michelle Obama, I actually met Michelle. Um, yeah, it's kind of intimidating. I'm a 5'5" little Jewish guy, and Michelle Obama is close to 6 foot tall. I think she's really tall.
Oh, really?
Yes, unless she was wearing really high heels. But I mean, I met her, and I go to shake her hand, and I'm like looking up like this,
Sure enough,
um,
5'11".
and she's stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
TV does not do her justice. She's just a beautiful, beautiful woman. She gave a wonderful speech at an event I attended, and I would like to, without question, my number one person to meet would be the two of them.
Mm.
Um, did you ask me for a number two? I don't, or
Oh no, that's fine. That's perfect.
it would be them. I in the old days, if you'd have asked me 20 years ago, it would have been Bill Clinton. His presidency and his politics are very, very close to mine. I'm I'm not a left winger. Um, I'm I would say a moderate Democrat. So his moderate policies appealed to me. There were some things that I didn't like about his uh, presidency, and his character came into issue. Obviously, uh, I didn't like his welfare to work policy because I thought it was draconian. I like the concept of it. I think people should be given an opportunity to find work, to be productive members of society. But I don't think they should be forced to do so if there's some reason holding them back. And what I
Mm.
didn't like about welfare to work was this kind of do this or else. Uh, so that was an issue for me. But 20 years ago, it would have been Bill Clinton.
I gotcha. I have huge aspirations of probably creating a similar system to welfare to work of like really I want everybody standard of living across the world to just be at the point of middle class America. Because I feel like once you're there, you kind of have options a bit more.
Well,
And
I
so,
just it's a little simplistic to think and say that anybody or everybody can do something.
yes.
So to suggest that welfare to work means the same thing for all people, I think is absurd. Are there people that welfare to work works for? Yes, but there needs to be solutions for people who it doesn't work for. And that was the problem with the legislation. What it did was it dumped people off welfare, put them out on the street,
Yep.
created more of a homeless problem, and didn't solve the underlying problem that made them go on welfare in the first place. So
Yeah.
I don't believe in pigeonholing all people into I call it round holes and square pegs, or
Yep.
square pegs and round holes, and
Absolutely.
that was my disagreement with that policy and any policy like it. I just don't. Um, if you look at Obamacare, for instance, Obamacare, even though I just said I was moderate, Obamacare doesn't go far enough. I don't think healthcare ought to be something that depends upon how much money you have.
Yeah.
I'm a capitalist. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a socialist. But when it comes to healthcare, a person with a heart attack that suffering a heart attack ought to be able to go to the hospital and get the same care, whether he's a homeless person or whether he's the president of the United States. That's what Obama attempted to do, and he was stopped at almost every point in the process until we came to the compromise that is Obamacare. But I'm with Bernie Sanders on that one. I think healthcare, and by the way, education for that matter, ought to be a human right. You should be able to go as far as you need to go, regardless of your ability to pay.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel that. I guess the biggest thing, so when I'm thinking of the system, like you mentioned welfare to work is like square pegs and round holes. And so
Can be. Not
yes, it
always,
can
but
be.
it can be. Yeah.
Can be. And so as I've thought through this, I'm like, you really have to scale individuality. Like you have to like be able to help people one-on-one at scale. Does that make sense?
Well, yes. It can't be. It can't be an all for one for all policy. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: everybody's path to work, if they're capable of work, is different, and some might take longer than others. Some might not. Some might never qualify. And it strikes me as unfair to create slogans like, quote, welfare to work, which is a nice sounding slogan. Nobody wants to be on welfare, I don't think. Maybe there's some, I don't know. Maybe there's a lazy person or two out there. I presume that's true. But I think most people would prefer to lead a productive life. And
Yeah.
some take longer to get there. I think our system needs to address that and deal with it in terms of what each person's capabilities and aspirations are.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think the same. It's just the barrier I keep coming to is so much of the core of capitalism is like businesses exchanging service or product for money. And so when you start pouring resources into people that aren't instantly throwing out a return, it gets very difficult to sustain, if that makes sense.
Well, it does, and it's also true, and it's reported quite often that the um, top 1% makes more than what, the bottom 30?
Yeah, probably the gap has been widening. Like
Terribly so. So those people who sell those products that you're referring to, those widgets, might either decide to price them more fairly, to make them more available to those who can't afford them, and to generally use their wealth to make a better world. Now, I'm not saying that all wealthy people are created equal. There are plenty of wealthy people who do their best to make society a better place. Um, there are some that don't. Uh, it's I think we all need to pitch in and try as best we can to make the world a better place. That's what I try to do in my small way with my books. If there's a problem out there that has been in the news, like the ones I mentioned, I try to address them in my writing and then offer solutions for them.
yeah,
The community, for instance, in my novel Betrayal in Black, which was about a cop on black shooting, community came together, resolved the matter both in the criminal justice system and in the civil justice system, and came up with solutions that bettered the local society where the incident happened. That's the kind of thing that I'd like to see my books responsible for. The same thing happened in Betrayal High, which is the book I wrote about school shootings. Similar situation, different community, different solutions, obviously, to the problem. A shout out to the gun industry to do better, and a community solution, both on the criminal side and on the civil side, to the problem that the severe problem that school shootings present in America. Do I have all the answers? Of course not. Do I have the right answers? Who knows? Read the book and find out. But at least I'm trying, and that's what I'd like to see my fellow citizens do.
There we go. Well, now we're going to jump into our thriving three. And the first question is, what is your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
My favorite movie and book of all time is To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird made me want to be a lawyer. I saw the movie first, read the book second. So that was unusual, I guess, for a kid. Most kids. I just wrote a blog about book banning. Are you aware that there are certain cities in this country that have banned To Kill a Mockingbird?
Really?
As being too racist?
Oh, wow.
It blows my mind. I mean, how can anybody not read To Kill a Mockingbird?
I won't lie, I haven't read it.
My favorite podcast, aside from yours, is
there
mine.
We go.
Is mine.
I love it. And what's your podcast name?
I have a podcast called Justice Counts, and we study all things justice. So very similar to our conversation so far today, I try to have interesting guests that offer solutions to various civil and criminal and political problems. And it's called Justice Counts, and it's on the Spreaker network.
There we go.
What book, is movie, podcast? I guess I covered them all.
Yes, you did. And what is one way?
By the way, I'm not always all this serious. I mean, if you ask me what my favorite comedy movies are, anything Mel Brooks. I love Mel Brooks. His earlier stuff, The Producers, Blazing Saddles, History of the World Part 2, I think, or Part 1. What was it? Part 2? Part 2, I think it was called. Where Moses comes down the mountain with 15 commandments, and then drops a tablet. It turns out to be 10. Funny stuff. What's Up, Doc, with Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal was a very funny movie. I love comedy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But in terms of movies with a message, To Kill a Mockingbird, without question.
I love it. And what's one way you like to take care of yourself?
Well, I try to stay active. As I indicated, I'm 70. I participated in sports all my life. Hurt myself a few times, which is not fun. But overall, being active is better than being inactive. Try to eat healthy, eat the right things. I like to watch. I think we have to take care of ourselves, not selfishly necessarily. I think we can be selfless and selfish at the same time. But it's important to others who love you to also take care of yourself and pay attention.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet Barack Obama and Michelle Obama?
Gee, I don't know. Maybe he'll find my books and want to meet me. What do you think?
Hey, maybe he's listening to this show right now.
Could be, could be. If I were him, I would be.
Hey, there we go.
I when I did my homework for your podcast, you provided me a list of things that you might ask me, and this is one of them. And I struggled with this one. Uh, I write every day. I take action steps to make my dream as a quote successful, whatever that means, writer come true. I do a lot of outreach to make that happen. As to one action step, that's a hard question to answer. I think the better way to look at this, and I don't know what other guests have answered, but I think the other way to answer this is to take 1,000,000 baby steps.
Yeah.
And maybe that will equal one big action step. How does that sound?
I love it. That is what I like to hear. It's a good answer. Well, now we're going to jump into our final series of questions.
Okay.
And I did not send these questions beforehand, so feel free to just be like, I don't know.
Did I give away something that I shouldn't have when I said you sent me a question or two? I didn't mean
to. No. I always preface these questions with this because some people I need to know what's going on minute by minute, and the others are like, I just come on the show and answer the question. So no pressure.
You don't want to know what's going on in my life minute by minute. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, yep, I didn't send these beforehand, so no pressure to answer. Feel free to say I don't know. They also require a bit of pretext, so stick with me while I read them.
Before you ask me the questions, are you going to cut out the uhs and the ums and the if I hesitate before I answer, will that get edited?
It will not.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Awesome. Okay, so a lot of people have come on the show and they've said that the catalyst that helps people change from having a fixed mindset, not willing to accept help and not willing to accept change, to having a growth mindset, being willing to accept help and being willing to accept change, the catalyst that helps people make that switch is a personal choice that happens after either extreme inspiration or extreme desperation. Do you agree, disagree, have anything to add or subtract?
Well, I don't disagree. I would say that I've never been terribly desperate, thankfully. And when I say that, I'm not suggesting that I haven't had my moments or my periods of desperation. Everybody has. But I look at it relatively speaking. When you look at desperation, I've never been desperate for a meal. I've never been desperate for a place to live. I've never been desperate for companionship. A lot of people are alone in this world. So I've never been desperate for money. Not that I've been wealthy or am wealthy, but it's never been a strong motivator or something I've been desperate for. Where's my next meal coming from? Do I have enough money in my pocket to afford my next meal? That's real desperation. So for me, it's been more of a question of inspiration. And inspiration comes from my parents, who taught me the value of education, the value of helping people, the value of fellowship and community. If I didn't say it already, the value of education. So those things. And by the way, being lucky enough to be raised by two wonderful parents is probably one of the most important things that you can have in your life. And I was lucky that way.
Yeah.
But helping others is an inspiration to me, and that's I mentioned that earlier, and I go back to that. That motivates almost everything I do.
I love it. And given the same amount of extreme inspiration and extreme desperation, why do you think some people make the choice to change and others don't?
Well, I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I'm not sure that we all have the option to make the change. We spoke about that earlier. Some people just don't have the ability or the wherewithal to change. If you have the ability, I certainly think some people give up and some people move forward. Why do they make those choices? Hard to answer. I think desperation to some people becomes so great that they feel helpless. And I would suggest to you that people who can make that change ought to grab someone by the collar who is having difficulty making the change and drag them with them.
Yeah.
And maybe that would help. Recognize that someone else is struggling and give that person a leg up. I don't know, though, why some can do it and some can't. It's probably part of our upbringing. It's probably part of our emotional makeup. It might be physical. It might be psychological or mental challenges. It's too broad a problem to create a simple answer for. But I do think that those of us who are able to overcome the struggle ought to look back at those who we left behind and try to pull somebody along with us.
Yeah. Love it. So some people need a small amount of desperation or inspiration to change, and others need a larger, more consistent amount. What do you think establishes that threshold, and can it be influenced?
Well, same answer. It's different. It's a different strokes for different folks. I
Yep.
just don't think very much like we talked about earlier about square pegs and round holes. Sometimes moving forward for some people is a round hole in a square peg. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just a perfect fit for people. So I don't have an answer for you. I just think that we struggle and we overcome or we don't. Uh, my only advice to people would be do the best you possibly can. If giving up is all that's left for you, I would suggest that there's some ounce of maybe I can somewhere deep inside that would allow you to go on. I've known people who have committed suicide in their life, and I was shocked that that particular person or that particular person was that desperate. It wasn't that obvious to me. So, my suggestion to those who are desperate and think that they're completely powerless to change, get help. Find someone, anyone, whether it be a professional or a friend, to help you get over the hump.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it kind of goes back, like, I think I just know it's different strokes for different folks, but I want to create a system that scales individuality, where it's like, I want to scale the one-on-one. I'm a person who's made it. I go back and grab one person. And I just want to scale that, which seems
Well,
very idealistic.
very much so, very much so. If you know,
Yeah.
if we help one and we help two and we help three, and maybe we'll steamroll down the hill.
Yeah,
have you seen that slide in Detroit that
I have not.
oh God, they built a you know those slides where you get into a sack and you goes down these metal slides.
Yep,
They made
yep.
they made the thing too slippery, so people were bouncing down this slide, and I thought somebody was going to get killed. They've shown it. They've been showing it on the news for a week or so.
Yeah, I saw it
Um,
on social media. That was in Detroit.
yeah, that's in Detroit. So they finally apparently reduced the skid a bit. It gets worse as the day goes on, and they're teaching people how to navigate the thing. But sometimes we head downhill too fast.
Mm,
Sometimes we head uphill too fast. Smell the flowers, you know.
yep.
Take your time, whether you're going downhill or whether you're going uphill. Try to reduce the trend a little bit.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
All right, we got one last question for you.
Yes, sir.
For this question, keep in mind a person who has a really fixed mindset, they're not willing to accept help and they're not willing to accept change. So, in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the 4 laws of changing your behavior. And the laws are to make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. With that context in mind, and the avatar I just told you about, how can we, you and I, create an environment that makes it more obvious, more attractive, more easy, and more satisfying for that avatar to make the choice that will change their life? So, how can we go back and grab one?
Well, I would use the Nike slogan: "Just do it."
Yep.
Damn it, just do it.
Ain't nothing to it but to do it.
It's not hard to drag somebody along with you. The only way that it's hard is if they resist your gesture. But I know very few people who are too proud to accept a helping hand. And I
Yep.
don't mean it. I don't mean in terms of handing a guy on a street corner $1 because he's got a cup. Giving people money is an easy thing to do, especially if you have money. But lending a helping hand, uh, like we talked about, pulling somebody along with you, that's not easy. And I would suggest that Nike, one of the best marketing slogans of all time, is "Just do it."
Yeah.
And it's not just a marketing slogan. It applies to almost everything we do and everything we are. Don't you think?
It really does.
Whatever it is, just do it.
Just do it.
I never thought I could write one book, let alone 10.
Yeah.
And my books have won multiple awards. I'm still kind of shocked by it all. I just won a gold medal from Reader's Favorite for my latest novel, You Have the Right to Remain Silent. A month ago, I won a gold medal from the Firebird Books Award. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that other people are reading my work and saying, "Wow, this is terrific." That's the ultimate compliment. That's kind of them picking me up and dragging me along with them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to do that. Um, so just do it. I think is my answer to your question.
There we go. I love it. Simple. Well, awesome, Mark. That's all we have for you, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Tim, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
My books can be found on Amazon. My website is markmbello.com. I wrote a little Holocaust novella that is a prequel to my books. And people who go on my website and register and leave their email and subscribe to my newsletter can get a free copy of the novella. All of my books are on the website. All of my books are available on Amazon and other online booksellers. MarkMBello.com. Don't forget the M. You asked me that question about the M. It's important.
Yes, I did.
It makes my mother very happy.
There we go. It's our father, right?
It's his name was M also. That's why she in the Jewish religion, you name people after deceased people, not after the living. So his name wasn't Mark Myron, as mine is. His name was Morris Meyer, and I was named after him after he passed away. I was one of the unfortunate people who had their grandfather die before they were born. So I never had 4 grandparents, but I did have 2 parents, and a lot of people don't even have that.
Yeah.
And my mother told me stories, and a lot of what I write about in terms of Jewish family tradition comes from my mother's family. So there's a theme, a sub-theme, if you will, in my books about how Jewish families handle certain events in life. Zachary Blake is a Jewish lawyer, and Judaism is important to him. And a lot of what he does and the justification for what he does are rooted in his religion. So I try to intertwine, if that's a word,
Yeah.
religion into the justice themes of my book, because the concept of justice shalt thou pursue, comes from the Bible, comes from the Old Testament. That is the introduction of justice in our world. And our laws, by the way, are rooted in biblical scriptures. Not directly, but that's where the concept of the 10 Commandments, if you think, even if it was 15, the 10 Commandments were the basic codification, or the first codification of law. Thou shalt not. Thou shalt.
Yeah.
Those were laws.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love it. Mark, thanks so much.
Thank you, Tim. Good to see you.
Good to see you. If you guys are listening to this and you loved what Mark had to say, make sure to go check him out, grab a book, leave a review, and then send a copy to a friend. Join his email list, get his newsletter as well. As we always ask, shoot this podcast over to 1 to 3 people you know need to hear this message. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review on iTunes if you liked the show. And on that note, we're out.